What's up, B2? Capital G here, checking out the brand new Palladion archetype that is coming out in Cybernetic Horizon. I talked about the boss monster of this archetype yesterday, Archlord Palladion, and I said in that video that I was pretty sure that this was going to be part of a new archetype just because everything Konami had shown so far in this set was basically like legacy support, and we were still kind of waiting around for that brand new archetype, and sure enough, Palladions are a new archetype. Now, they are part of the World Legacy storyline as well, which, I mean, it's getting kind of crazy, man. My boy Mech Knight Avram has received yet another upgrade. Check this out, and I don't know exactly what's going on with him, but it seems like he just got fed up with Ibli being fucking crazy and being possessed and shit, and he's like, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna go to the forest, I'm gonna meet me a half-naked waifu, I'm just gonna call it a day, forget about Ibli. So, anyways, I've looked over these cards. I think that they're actually kind of cool, and let's go ahead and start breaking them down. So, first off is Palladion of the Fiendish Illusion. This is a level 3 fire spellcaster monster, 400 attack and 2000 defense. A lot of these monsters have higher defense than attack points. You'll understand why when it gets to their special summoning conditions. Every single monster, like all the main deck monsters, share this first ability. You can only special summon one of this card's name in the way that it is written in its first effect. You can only use this card's second effect as the hard once per turn. So these guys, I mean, it's a little reminiscent of Mech Knights where they have this like inherent special summoning condition, and you can only special summon one card of that card's name, you know, per turn. So they all can, it says, well, their first effect, which they all share, you can special summon this card from your hand to a link point, or excuse me, to a zone a link monster points to and defense position. So that's actually pretty cool. The fact that you don't have to use your normal summon on them if you already have a link monster on the field, and basically you just get to summon them. That works for all the monsters in the archetype. Again, they do come out in defense mode, so they're not going to be really doing any damage, but it's fine because this archetype, basically all the monsters, the link monsters, they all kind of get powered up by the monsters that they're linked to. Effect number 2, which I actually think is pretty good with this card, it says if this card is normal or special summoned to a link monster or to a zone a link monster points to, you can target one Palladion card you control and one card your opponent controls, destroy them. So it's basically like a built-in break sword slash scrap dragon, and it can include this card. So if you just happen to have a link monster on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand, and he kind of becomes instant removal. You can just blow himself up and then a card on your opponent's side of the field. I like this card. I'm thinking you're probably going to run like 3 copies of it. Next up, we have Palladion of the Vast Sky, which is level 4, light psychic, 1600 attack, 1000 defense. You want to know what's very strange about this card? Maybe I'm the only one that noticed, maybe other people noticed, but I just find it kind of puzzling. How exactly did he actually get weaker statistically? Like, it kind of seems like as the story, the World Legacy story is progressing, it seems like he's getting upgrades and he's becoming more powerful. He's working with other archetypes, getting new armor and weapons and stuff like that. I mean, we've known this guy all the way back since he was chosen by the World Chalice, and he was 1600 attack then he became Mech Knight Avram, and he was 2000 attack, and now he went back to 1600 attack. Like, that's weird. Like, you would think it would be like 2100 attack or something like that, but I don't know, maybe that's just something small that I noticed. Anyways, his first effect, obviously you just special summon him to a zone that a link monster points to in defense position. His real effect says you can target one Palladion link monster you control, only that monster can attack for the rest of the turn. Also, any battle damage it inflicts to an opponent's battling monster is doubled. So this actually makes a lot of sense in this archetype, because this archetype, you know, the monsters that are, the link monsters gain attack equivalent to the original attack of monsters that they're linked to, and only the link monsters can attack. So it kind of makes sense for you to be able to double that damage, since the link monsters are going to be the ones basically pulling the weight for this deck. So it really does make sense for them to kind of have a card like this to really maximize the damage of the link monsters, since really they're going to be doing the attacking for the most part. We have Palladion of the Sacred Tree, aka the waifu. This is level 3. It is a water warrior. It's a tuner, which is weird because I don't know, are there any synchros in this archetype? Because I'm thinking not. There are 3 links. I don't know why it's a tuner. Anyways, 800 attack, 1800 defense. I'm loving the high defense in this archetype. The real effect is if a Palladion monster or monsters you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard or from your side of the field instead. Whoa, I didn't even realize she could banish herself from the field the first time that I read the card. That's actually really nice. I'm thinking, okay, I'm liking that. Use her as material and then get dual utility from the graveyard and possibly from the field as well. Very, very nice card, actually. All right. I mean, again, I'm a little like, I'm dumbfounded why it's a tuner. It just doesn't seem like she'll really get any value out of that, but I'm actually loving her protection effect, mainly because you can use it from the field and the graveyard. We've got a couple more monsters that are just regular effect monsters. Palladion of the Celestial Bodies. Oh, this must be the World Chalice Guard Dragon. Looks like this dude grew up really, really fast. I mean, he was like a little teeny baby dragon when we first met him. This is a level 4 wind dragon, 600 attack and 2000 defense. His real effect is if this card is normal or special summoned to a zone a link monster points to, you can target one Palladion card in your graveyard except another copy of Celestial Bodies, add it to your hand. Okay, so basically this is Warrior Returning Alive. It's generally always a pretty good effect, especially considering in this archetype getting a monster back from your graveyard generally means that you might be able to use that monster immediately because of their ability to like special summon themselves and not have to be so normal dependent to get themselves on the field. So I think that actually makes, I think that this effect actually makes a whole lot of sense, and I like that. Very, very solid card. We have Palladion of the 100 Beast. Now this is a brand new card. I don't think that we've seen this in the lore. This looks like Mufasa from The Lion King when he's just like on Pride Rock and he's just looking over all of like Africa and whatnot. The card's artwork is amazing. By the way, like all the artwork in this archetype is so fantastic. It's a level 3 Earth Beast, 1200 attack, 1600 defense. Its real effect is you can target one Palladion Link monster you control. During this turn, if it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. It's okay. I mean, piercing is cool in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's never been like just that amazing. Now, if it would have did like double piercing damage, we would have had something, but just getting piercing damage is just kind of okay. Honestly, I would rather have double battle damage than have piercing damage, to be honest. So this is probably one of the cards you're not going to run too many copies of. If it had some type of graveyard effect, then, you know, we'd be getting somewhere. And then we have probably my favorite card in this archetype, which is interesting because it's actually, like, statistically the weakest card. This is Magias Palladion. This is the Link 1. And the thing about this archetype that I was looking at when I looked at kind of how they worked and the fact that they all needed Link monsters to already be on the field to special summon themselves, I was thinking, man, if they only have the Link 3, that's going to be kind of wasted potential, because I'm not sure exactly how you're going to drop all of these dudes in one turn if you only got this one Link 3 to work with. But there's actually not only a Link 2, but there's a Link 1 in the archetype, which I was thinking, okay, feels like Zodiac a little bit. Just, you know what I mean? Anyways, let me go ahead and go into the card, stop ranting. It's a Link 1 light spellcaster. 100 attack, it points down towards you, and it requires any Palladion monster except another copy of itself. So this is really good just on that alone, because it means any monster in the archetype, you can just normal summon it and you can go straight into a Link monster. That's the part that I like. The third effect is the hard once per turn. The first effect is this card gains attack equal to the original attack of a monster it points to. That is built into all the monsters in this archetype. Konami wants the Link monsters to basically be the wrecking crew, and for the main deck monsters to support the Link monsters. Effect number 2, the monster this card points to cannot attack. Again, they want you doing damage with the Link monsters. The third effect is what I love about this card. It makes it a combo starter. If an effect monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can add one Palladion monster from your deck to your hand. So basically it's Rhoda. This is really good because it means that if you open with any 2 Palladion monsters, you kind of have yourself a really nice combo, because all you have to do is normal summon one of them, then go straight into Magias, which is just your Link monster, and then you can just have like your second monster special summon itself of its own effect. Then you get to search for another card like any other monster in your archetype, and I like that because it also leads us into our next card. It means you can go straight into the Link 2 monster, which is actually Regulex Palladion. Man, some of these names are really weird and difficult to pronounce, but Regulex is actually a Link 2. It's a Lice Beast Link monster, 1000 attack, and it has its link points are top and bottom, which means you can link it towards your opponent's monsters as well. It requires 2 effect monsters including a Palladion monster, so you're probably only going to be summoning it in this archetype unless you, well, no, it's pretty much in this archetype. Let's see, this card gains attack equal to the original attack of monsters it points to. Monsters it points to cannot attack, which actually again hurts your opponent potentially. If an effect monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you can add one Palladion spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So again, if you open with any 2 Palladion monsters, not only can you go into the link 1 and instantly search a monster, but then you can summon that monster as well after making the link 2, and then you can search for any of the spells and traps in this deck, and then from there you can decide if you want to go into the link 3 or do you want to just sit on that monster. Like, I'm liking the options so far. Now, I'm not going to review the Archlord because I did talk about that card yesterday. If you guys missed that video, just go ahead, and I'm pretty sure it'll be like in the description of this, or just click on my channel, you'll find it. But there are 3 spells and traps. I think that the 2 spell cards are pretty good. I think the trap is kind of underwhelming. There's a field spell that says Reunite Palladion. It's a field spell. It says Palladion Link monsters gain 500 attack. Okay, like it. Once per turn, you can target 1 Palladion monster you control. It can attack all monsters your opponent controls each. Also, no other monsters you control can attack this turn. This is a really good effect in my opinion. Not just because you can give the link monsters piercing damage, but because you can give them double battle damage. And if you can crank them up high enough, I really don't think that other monsters on your side of the field not being able to attack, like, I don't really think that that's going to be that big of a negative, especially when you're already getting 500 attack on top of that. You've got Crusade Palladion, which is the continuous trap card. The first effect, or excuse me, you can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn, so I guess you can only activate this card as a hard once per turn. It says when activated, you contribute 1 Palladion or World Legacy monster. Special summon 1 Palladion or World Legacy monster with a different original name from your deck or graveyard. That's the first effect. Second effect is if you control a Palladion Link monster, your opponent cannot target monsters for attacks except Link monsters. All right, so to me, I don't really think that the whole like tribute a monster that you have on your side of the field, like you contribute a Palladion to get like another Palladion from your deck or from your graveyard, I don't really think that that's that good. Like, maybe if it was a continuous spell card and it wasn't so slow, it just doesn't really feel like it does that much for me. I think that your opponent only being able to attack your Link monsters actually makes a lot of sense, because basically you're kind of giving up your ability to do damage with your other monsters so that your Link monsters can do massive damage. So it kind of makes sense for your opponent to only be able to attack those monsters that are getting powered up by your other monsters on the field. I really wish that they would have added like another small layer of protection, maybe so that your Link monsters couldn't be destroyed by like card effects or something like that. So your opponent either had to destroy them in battle, they had to kaiju them, or they had to like target them or something. I don't really think that this card's that good. Maybe you'll just run 1 because they don't have that many spells and traps, but honestly, I'm thinking you probably won't run this at all. I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but so far it didn't really like blow me away. And then the last card is Albade Palladion, which is a quick play spell. I think this card's actually pretty good. It's a hard once per turn that says target 1 face-up Palladion monster you control. This turn, that Palladion monster is unaffected by card effects except its own. My best guess is you're probably going to be using this on your Link monsters, because those are probably going to be the focus of what your opponent is trying to get off the board first. I think that they'll probably ignore like the little effect monsters that you have in the field and just focus on those. Considering this card is so easily searchable, I think it's actually pretty legitimate. I think you'll probably run a couple copies of this. It would have been a little nicer if it was blanket for like, the entire field of Palladion monsters, but the fact that it's unaffected by everything, I don't know if you want to give an archetype a card that makes all the monsters on the field, unaffected by everything. But what do you guys think of this archetype so far? I think that it's very interesting. It seems very easy to get rolling, because from what I've seen, you only really need like 2 monsters in your hand, and you can kind of get to like the link 3, you can get a spell or trap, you can get monster searches. So it seems like the deck kind of flows incredibly easily. I just think that they need a better trap card, like maybe something with a little bit of protection or something like that. Anyways, whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on that notification bell for daily videos.